mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Oh, well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and today I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Oh, episode 3, and I managed to do it.
I
got the intro down. So, as you can see, we are not alone today. We are joined by... He is here. He
I'm
is
not
looking
Claude Rains, I promise you
glorious.
that.
He is looking glorious in his Mickey Mouse jumper. If you're listening on audio, please go and check it out on YouTube. But yes, we are joined by our esteemed leader, Paul.
The Paul, yes.
The Paul, he's here.
Yes, Sammy has asked me to join the Monster Squad, so I'm very proud and honoured, shall we say, to be part of such a prestigious and fact-filled episode of Monsters Up North.
ain't got no money. I'm not paying you for that.
No one's got any money, trust us, but it's fine.
So, today we are all joined together because we are going to talk about a very big hitter. Yep, him, the stabby slash guy.
Mr. Slasher.
It's not the other one. It's the other one. We are talking about Michael Myers. So I will get the disclaimer out the way with, and then we can crack on getting into this prestige boogeyman. So,
The boogeyman's coming to get you, Sammy.
and fuck off. So everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook group, the Discord, or the comment section, and we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone come in for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, we keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism. Dan?
Don't be a dick.
There you go. That is Dan's contribution to the disclaimer. It's kind of like condenses it into one small package.
It's the only rule I
Just
have
like Dan.
on my page as well. Like,
It is, yes.
on the
remember.
Facebook page, it's the one rule. You get one chance to unbe a dick, and if you can't unbe a dick, then you're gone.
How can you be unbe a dick? Is there like a specific performance or?
You'd be surprised on my page if you call someone out for being a bit dicky. They usually, the majority of people will go, "Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, wasn't meant like that." Or you can have a bit of banter and it's fine. You know, everybody just sort of calms down a bit. But then you get the ones that just are
Double
the
down.
edgelord, king of the comments. You know, they think they're the best, and you kill them with kindness. It's the best way to do it because they do not know what to do with humour. They're ready for arguments.
It sounds a little bit like Lee. When Lee first joined the Nerdy Up North group, he was a bit of a dickhead to the point where I was like, let's have a little private word, Lee. And he shit himself. He was like, no, please don't ban me. I don't want to leave. And now I kind of get rid of the fucker.
And now he's with us all the time.
Yeah. Mistakes were made.
Sometimes. They were, but good mistakes. So, Michael Myers is the main antagonist in the highly successful Halloween franchise. A franchise that consists of 13 movies, novels, comic books, and even video games, along with mass merchandise. This is the night the boogeyman came home, as Monsters Up North brings you Michael Myers. Oh my god. You know how I always talk about lightning? That would have been amazing, having the Halloween music just at the background. Oh, it would have been so good.
Well, in post-edit.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the edit guy right here. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
We're talking about this is live.
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah, this is Monday. We're Monday.
Monday nights, yes. We've talked about that brilliant film, Spirited Away. Yes, we did do that yesterday. Yeah,
we did that. Halloween 1978 is the first one, and it ends in 2022. 13 movies in total. Now, we did this pretty quickly on the Jason episode, and we've done it pretty quickly on the Claude Rains episode. And I'm going to do it pretty quickly on this one because I texted Dan the other night and said, spoilers, we have a new kill count champion.
Yes!
But I was confusion. I was confusion in that conversation.
And I can't remember the number. So the number is he beats Jason by 10.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Jason's was 151.
Right.
Michael's is 161.
Well done, Michael.
That spans 13 movies.
Yes.
So that includes zombies movies.
Right.
So every Michael Myers, so 161. So our new kill count champion is Michael Myers.
The multiverse of Myers.
But it took him 13 movies to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Claude Rains, and I had to double check this today by actually listening to the episode again, 122, because we kept changing that number all the time.
Yeah.
So did Claude. So did Claude during the whole movie. He was like, haha, I've killed 17 people while you turned your back. You just didn't see.
Nope. 122 is Claude. You go with Jason in 151. Michael is 161.
I'm surprised at that as well, because even though this is like the slasher movies, like in the early Michael movies, there's not many kills. Like I think there's 4 or 5 in the first one, or 3. Is it 3 or 5? 4.
Hang on. Annoying girl, booby girl,
Glasses guy.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
I think it's 4. Yeah.
4. Yeah.
Because they make reference to it in the reboot, and they say he killed 4 or 5 people on Halloween night, and they were the only people that he killed in that timeline.
And it oh yeah, the timelines. So we have 21 different actors playing Michael Myers. And we have 4 different timelines. So the timelines goes thus. Timeline number 1 is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Timeline number 2 is 1, 2, H2O, Resurrection.
Right.
Timeline number 3 is Rob Zombie. And timeline number 4 is 1, 2018, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
So they are your 4 timelines.
So would you not class Halloween 3 at all just because he makes a slight cameo on videotape?
Nope.
No.
The Myers verse does not include 3. 3 is a Halloween movie by name only, not by
Michael
definition.
Myers. Cool.
So
it's right there. It's
3
the
is
greatest movie
discounted.
ever.
Yes. It's a shame. It's one of the better movies as well. But yeah,
It's
anyway.
really fucking good. And I would love to do just a whole episode on Season of the Witch because it's so good. If you could do a whole episode. Saying that, we did a whole episode on Sleepaway Camp. I'm sure I can do a whole episode on that.
Halloween special.
Hey, so yeah, four timelines, 21 different actors. My first interesting factoid is that every Michael has a counter Michael, apart from a couple. So in the first one, you've got Nick Castle, but you've also got, hold on. Oh, fuck's sake. I had it all written down. You had Nick Castle, and then you had Tony Moran.
Who
And
is tiny in real life, by the way, Tony Moran.
Right.
He did Birmingham HorrorCon when it used to be a thing before the guy ran off allegedly with all the money, allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
But yeah, I was surprised how small he was because in my head, Michael is a 6 foot, 6'2", 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an imposing,
giant.
quite scary character, yeah.
No, everyone's short in Hollywood and never, ever let anyone tell you different. Because I feel like I am a decent size in Hollywood. Like when I meet the people I meet. I'm not normally. I am the smallest person on earth. So.
No, you're not the smallest of us, Earth. That is Chris. Chris is tiny.
Yeah, Chris is Dan, I generally think Chris is smaller than you. I really do.
Let's not get Dan to stand anywhere near Adam if she ever meets Adam. Adam is a 7 foot behemoth. He's a giant man.
Giant. I felt tiny next to him. Like tiny. I've gotten myself completely wrong there. It's only one and the 2018 one because that's what it was leading into. So the first one has two counterparts. The second one also the 2018 one also has two counterparts to Michael because I didn't realize until on rewatching and going through my notes that the 2018 one is pretty much a carbon copy of the 1978 one. And I don't know if that's just me with blinkers on or I am literally just watching shapes and colors. But I did not get that the 2018 one is pretty much the kills are the same. The obviously Nick Castle being there is a huge thing. So for all we have James Jude Courtney, who in my opinion I really think is my Michael. It's Nick Castle who's doing the breathing.
Right. Okay.
How weird is that?
I do know Deborah Hill actually played Michael.
Yes.
In a couple of the scenes as well in the first movie. She was the one who was she had the mask over the camera and was doing all the point of POV stuff through the eye holes. And then there was like one shot where she had the mask on, but you couldn't see anything more, if you know what I mean. It was just like one of those. And I thought that was cool because I mean at the time I think she was either engaged to John Carpenter or she was married to John when they did the 1978 one, because he ended up marrying Adrienne Barbeau when they did Creepshow, and that was early 80s. So timelines very.
I'm going to ask a question to throw you a little bit, just because I'm going to go old school monsters episodes. Do you think Michael makes a good monster?
Oh, we don't ask this question anymore, do we? Because I keep forgetting to do it. And I noticed that when I was listening to The Invisible Man. Okay. No.
Okay.
I don't. But then I do. And I can't. Put it this way. He's not the worst out of the big hitters. Dan's going to completely disagree with us on this one because he's not the worst, but he's not the best either. I actually think Jason is more of a superior monster slasher bad guy than Michael.
Oh, interesting. What about you, Dan?
Be kind.
Michael is by definition a stalker, not a he becomes a slasher after the stalk. Well, technically, he obviously kills Judith. So you have the one event that sets everything into motion. But if it wasn't for the Rob Zombie movies, we wouldn't have that time gap filled in for us. We only know what Donald Pleasance has said, or you know, you only get like little bits and pieces to tell you how he went from when they institutionalized him to when he escaped, which is supposed to be about 20 years, was it? Around? But in my opinion, I don't think 13 films for a man that walks incredibly slowly and is indestructible, that has no dialogue, is warranted. However, I watch those movies for Jamie Lee Curtis. I'll watch those movies for if I'm watching the zombie ones, Scout Taylor Compton. I'll watch those movies for Danielle Harris. Do you know what I mean? Because they're the ones that bring the story. Michael doesn't bring any story with him. It's what people feed him. Now, if it was a one-off film or a two, you know, like part 1, part 2, and it was 2 was included as in the hospital one, then I would say yes, because it's short-lived, it's not overdone. The stalking premise, the slasher thing, it all works. But after 13 movies, you get to a point where you're like, but also I don't agree with what Danny McBride did in the new movies. I love Danny McBride. I think he's fucking hilarious. I mean, Tropic Thunder is a work of art. It is the most horrific and un-PC thing you've ever seen in your life, but somehow it works. And Danny has a knack, usually, with making things like I say, he has a thing, but it just didn't translate for me. And I can only think it's because there's a certain man that had his hand in it. Blumhouse.
Yes.
Oh no! Did I just watch this with blinkers on or something and forgot that this was a Blumhouse film? Because it wasn't until I rewatched it, the 2018 one the other night, and I saw Blumhouse coming. I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, she's gonna have something to say about this.
Yeah.
It's not that he has a habit of like, I don't know how he manages to do it, but he dilutes
the
movie somehow.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, like, when you watch the first one, the premise of a creepy guy creeping around your house, no backstory, he's not Laurie's brother in this universe at this point. He's just some creepy guy that's trying to kill a babysitter.
Yeah.
Like the urban legend, because that's always what John wanted. He wanted a shape, a figure. He wanted this whole mysterious thing, and he got it for the first film. And then when it got sold out and it got flogged to death, it just became this trope of a slow-moving guy in a boiler suit and a Shatner mask, you know.
Yeah, it become a bit more of a joke type thing. Right? When you talk about like the later ones, and even the one that like didn't get released in the UK or any type of thing. But as you said, the original one, I love it for the simple fact it's like the Jaws or anything. You see very little of Michael, and it's like little glimpses, little specks, little like side glances and stuff like that. And the actual Michael attacks is very, very limited in the movie. And that's, as you said, it's a pure stalker movie, and it gives you that terror. And John Carpenter's like the music, and it's probably the music that makes it more tension building as well. But there's a few shots in that movie as well that is just perfect. Like the one where he's standing next to the washing and see the washing flying past him. It's creepy as fuck, and it's been copied so many times through the years now. It's like a horror trope thing, but that was done first, and that was done the best way for me. And as you said, you get to the point where it's almost like to go to the other podcast, like the Trekking podcast, like when you get the Star Trek movies, you get the good movie, the bad movie, the good movie, the bad movie. And that's what Halloween was like for a long period. You got the good movie, you got a bad one, and you got the god fucking awful one. But I was excited when we did get the new trilogy that came out, just simply because the first one, if you left that as a standalone movie now, it's not as bad. It is a good movie. It's just you can't watch that movie now without watching the other two, and that's what brings it down a little bit in my eyes. But yeah, I think Michael now is being pushed to the limits.
Oh, Evil dies tonight. Who the fuck came up with that? Who wrote that?
I don't know, but I have an opinion on the fact that they cast Gary from Weird Science as Tommy Doyle.
Yeah.
I mean, all I get in my head is, Gary, you told me you were combing your hair. Which is, he's locked himself in the bathroom and they're in the shower with her. You know, it's like, I can't. He's Breakfast Club. He's Michael. You know.
I didn't know that. I knew it wasn't the original Tommy, but I know that's the original What's That Face, because that's Kyle Richards. And if any of you Housewives of Beverly Hills fans will know that Kyle Richards is their main star and likes to point out quite regularly she was in Halloween, along with her sisters in all their old Disney movies. I have a couple of interesting facts that so we all know that he was originally going to be called The Shape. The mask is Shatner mask, which I actually saw the Shatner mask. They did a lot of work to it, mind. It's not just a case of like that's a Shatner mask and they just painted it white. No, there is some like changing of structure and stuff, especially like the hairline and this and the way that the mask fits and everything. But this was the story of Halloween and Michael was actually taking inspiration from a school trip that John took to a mental institute.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right term to use, but that was what it said in the article.
Sorry, you didn't call it a nut house, it's fine.
No, I didn't. The most interesting one. Now, I didn't know this, so I don't know if any of yous know this. But Michael has a middle name.
Yes,
Oh.
I've got it.
You know.
Look at them, look at them. I'm trying to out-fact each other now. It's like fact bingo
We do
now, isn't
this
it?
all. We do this
Honestly,
all the time.
It's the least threatening thing you've ever heard in your entire life.
Yeah, it honestly will. It will downplay Michael completely. It was only ever said in the TV cut,
Mhm.
which is why we don't hear it, because it was never shown in the theater cut. And the theater cut is what you see on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
His middle name it's Michael.
Yeah.
Audrey Myers.
Is that like some kind of Little Shop of Horrors reference or something as well, like thrown in there?
I always think of Only Fools and Horses,
Right.
and Boise's middle name being Aubrey.
Oh, Michael Myers is
Yeah.
just taking a step back to being the scary factor now. So
Michael Audrey Myers. That it honestly just downplays everything about him.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's an interesting. But when it comes to factoids, me and Dan do fight to get them out.
Get them out first there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just letting people go with this one because there's so, like you say, there's so many movies to go through,
Yeah.
and I've focused on one that I didn't think I would, but I'll wait until we get there.
Yeah.
But
Well, because there's not a lot of facts about Michael out there.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
only the ones that you know, the timelines.
But-
That you know,
Yeah.
John didn't want to make him an actual supernatural character.
No.
They were decisions that were made above him. It was going to be originally called the Babysitter Murders,
Yeah.
which I generally don't think if it went with that name, we would have what we have now.
no.
I think it'd
Probably
be one
not.
done, dusted.
The poster was made. I'm sure there was a poster. The poster looked quite good as well, from what I remember. I'll see if I can find it and post it like after this episode goes. But yeah, it's still a good title though. The Babysitter Murders. I still think that, but it's not Halloween.
It's not. It doesn't have that same punch as Halloween, and I don't think it would have stood the test of time
Mhm.
as what Halloween has, or like what Friday the 13th has. Like, it doesn't have that kind of punchy. It's going to stick with you.
So I'm going to ask a controversial question now, just because we were saying that.
Mm.
Do you think Michael Myers is as iconic for what he does and how he looks, or for the title Halloween?
I think it's more of a look factor with Michael, in my opinion.
Right.
I think Michael fits I think we've spoke about this before about iconic characters in horror,
Mhm.
and if you don't have that look, you'll
Mhm.
never fit that stature. I think Art the Clown is a perfect example of. I don't think is. Sorry, Kay, I love you to death, but I fucking really cannot stand them films. But Art as a character,
Yeah.
in the way, and in probably more the way he looks,
Mhm.
that's what gives him that kind of iconic feel. And I think Michael's the same. I think it's just an icon look. Do you agree, Dan, or do you not?
Yeah, you couldn't have Halloween without a main character, and I do feel like Michael is yeah, I mean, let's be honest.
Mhm.
It's an easy silhouette, it's an easy ask of a character of an actor, in the respect of they don't have to learn lines, they just have to learn direction. They're wearing a mask and an overall,
Yeah.
the Fred Dibner of bloody horror.
Red Dibner.
But like it's when you're looking at it, we all know a grey blue overall and a William Shatner mask maketh
Mhm.
Yeah,
Make
make
it-
it the slashy guy.
the pointy stabby man.
Pointy stabby. Do you? What's your thoughts?
I love the aesthetic of it. I think the main thing that they got right with the mask as well is the big black holes in the eyes. That again always just led to Michael, like, and like, it's what you don't know about him, or because you can never guess his reaction. He never shows emotion, and they even done that in the 2018 version where they hold the mask up to him in the yard and he just still looks away, and he doesn't look, and you've got all the other patients around reacting and going off it, and it's kind of like you want to know what's ticking or what's going in Michael's head as well, but you never really
But I
find out.
didn't need to see his face.
Yeah.
And you kind of do in the 2018 one if you really are looking careful. You get to see Jay's face quite a bit.
Yep.
We
and I
see him
don't-
in the first one, original as well.
Yeah, that's Tony Moran, and his disfigured face. But that's Jay's face is not disfigured. you can clearly see it when he's there's this. I think it's in the toilet scene where you get like a flash straight over, and you can clearly tell that. Sorry, James. I keep calling him Jay. James. His face is James Jude Courtney. It's just James Jude Courtney. There's nothing changed there. So we'll start with the 78 film. And we will go down because I can tell you 4, 5, and 6 will be a short conversation on my end because I've not fucking seen them and I have no intention of watching them either. 1978, you've got Jamie Lee Curtis in her first film, feature film.
I think because they didn't want to cast her, wasn't it? They didn't want her,
but they got her.
Yeah.
And thank God that they did. I tell you what, I watched this the other day, and the friend who gets killed in the car, can't remember what her name is, it's not that important to us to even to go and look into it. I fucking was so pleased when she got killed.
But isn't that just the trope for most horror films as well? You get the annoying friends that you start cheering, because it was in the Scream Factor as well. When Tatum gets killed, you're kind of like, yes.
Tatum's a good friend, though. Tatum was a really good friend. She had her girls back. She, on the other hand, was an absolute treacherous little cow. She was awful to Laurie. She was giving her backhanded compliments constantly throughout her conversations with her. She was trying to pin her up with boys. Laurie, you could clearly tell that if you're a good friend, you know that your friend doesn't need boys in their lives. And she was clearly trying to push onto her she was annoying. She's also the wife of Tom. Is it Tom Aikens in Season of the Witch?
Tom Atkins, yeah.
You just want to punch her face in and that and all. She must have something to do with either the production or John, because she was in both of them films, and fuck me, she should not have been. What's your thoughts on the 78 one, Dan? Go on.
I mean, as we talked about before on Black Christmas, John was heavily influenced by Black Christmas, and he took the idea of the first POV usage from Black Christmas and applied it to Halloween as we know it. So all those shots where you see it from Michael's point of view is heavily influenced by Black Christmas. So John was at that point, I think he was just out of film school, or just out of him, Nick, Deborah, and then there was a few other guys, made it on a budget of like next to nothing. I did have it written down, but I seem to have misplaced it, but it wasn't much. It was like 10 grand. It was something crazy.
Everything was pretty much begged, borrowed and stolen from other places and sets and stuff.
It's technically a film school film. It was a bunch of guys, friends, that wrote a script and then decided to film it. And I think had we not had that movie, we wouldn't have the fascination that we do now with slashers. Because if you look at Jason came after. Texas Chainsaw was a chainsaw, and it was before, so it didn't sort of lend to the slasher genre at that respect.
It wasn't in the same wheelhouse.
No. So if you look at Stalky Men with Knives, I mean, he probably was the originator.
You wouldn't probably get Freddy Krueger and stuff like that either as well.
After, the Burn-In with the Shears, Cropsey, after, they're all, whether they were in the works before this or not, I don't know. But when you look at it, they got it out in 78. And I would say it's probably one of the first slasher movies, as we know slasher movies. So without it, we wouldn't have Scream. We wouldn't have Jason. We wouldn't have a lot of these heavily influenced movies. So my opinion is, great job. Thanks very much.
I tell you what, I did when I was rewatching it the other day, because we did Black Christmas, and obviously when we did the research for it, knowing how John felt about this, because he feels so strongly about this film, and it was amazing how many other stars feel about this. Like, it's Elvis's favorite film, so to once I had that in my head and I rewatched it, I was like, oh god, yeah, I see it. Like, I see where that inspiration came from. It gives us another perspective on it, I'm not going to lie. Just based on the fact that I knew how much you love Black Christmas and how much I love Black Christmas as well.
It's a weird one as well, because I'm going to say something that's going to sound strange. I get good childhood memories from Halloween, which you shouldn't really have, because I remember watching it far too young, around the same time as I watched like Jaws and stuff like that. But the two scenes that always used to stand out for me as a kid is the opening scene with the mask, and you find out it's a kid. It is jarring, and it is so well done and put together, especially for the film of its time. But also the scene where Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, is driving up to the Hatfield, the asylum. And he's got the nurse in the car, and he's going, "Oh, these patients are all out." And for some reason, that bit scared me more than most of the film together, because you see, you don't know what's going on. Then you see Michael, like, in his gown, scramble on top of the car, and the nurse is in the car by herself, and all you see is his hand smashing the window. And again, it's just horror done well, but simply done as well at the same time.
It is a simple blueprint of horror. It's not over the top. It's not convoluted. There's no surprises. There's no twists. There's no turns. It's pretty much from A to B. Donald Pleasant is a fucking joy in this movie. The way he handles that nurse is just brilliant. I mean, he was just one step away from giving her a slap, to be honest, because she was so annoying. But that man kept his cool, and I think Donald Pleasant's just I think you do desperately need him in this movie to be, because obviously Michael is the all-encompassing evil. You need the good guy. Yeah. And Jamie Lee is not that good guy. She's just the person in the middle.
Oh, in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. Who, I honestly, I wish I did like it better. The last line, was that the boogeyman? I hate that line. I hate the way she delivers it. I love the scene in the when she's in the cupboard and she's literally fighting for her life for the coat hanger. Love that scene. I just hate that line afterwards. I just wish she never fucking said anything. And then Donald Pleasant goes and looks out the window and he's gone. Yeah. Wish that was the case, but it's not. But I totally get what you mean by having childhood memories, good childhood memories based on it. H2O gives me that. H2O was probably the first Halloween movie I saw, that I could remember. I saw Halloween way too young, and I remember being at a friend's house, and my sister was probably about 5 at the time, and
your
she was
poor
there.
teacher used to torture you as sister. Watch me to watch all these films.
Oh no, but no. Well, actually, this one I saved her because they put it on, and I was like, nope. I'm not being held responsible for them nightmares. We have to share a room. Get home. So yeah, I saved her from that one. So 78, we move into 1981 and we get Halloween 2. Not going to lie. Really wish this didn't exist. But it does.
Yeah.
It depends which universe you look at, though, because 2, it was meant to be just 1 and 2. Because John said no more. He said, no, this is not what I wanted. I wanted a 1 and done. But I'll stretch it to a 2, and that's it. You know, that's where I want to go. And then the studio, because it made so much money, the first one, the studio had too much hands in the way it was written. The second one, and they wanted more bang for your buck. They wanted the possibility of a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So then they brought in the trope of Laurie. I think it came in 2, didn't it? Where Laurie,
it did,
yeah,
his brother time.
Yeah, and it was like, and John. That was when John turned around and went, "I'm out." It's not what I wanted. Stupid.
It's one of them things where I watched the second one and they made it out that as soon as I said it was that she was related, I was like, that doesn't make any sense from what we've heard or what's going on. And but that was very much of the horror film tropes of the 80s as well, because they wanted to bring in a surprise or bring in.
It's also a continuity error too. Because at the beginning of the movie, her dad says, make sure that you drop this off at the Myers house. Why the fuck, if he knew that is her, that Myers is her brother, why the fuck would he send his daughter to that house? I see that as a continuity fucking error. Or
get them
really
told,
fucking
Sammy. Get them
stupid
told.
writing.
Yeah.
I was actually paying attention. I really don't like that. I really don't like this film. You can see the studio's imprint on this from the very beginning to the very end. It's not John. John's work, John's vision of what he had in the first one is completely and utterly gone in this one. It's your typical 80s slasher film.
It's very two different types of things. Like this, the first one is very subtly and done with like delicately placed and how it's moved around, like the pieces. The second one is just everything's hit with a sledgehammer, and it's just getting hit harder and harder and harder until you think, as an audience member, you feel a bit bludgeoned towards the end, because it's like, I've just been through that, and it's, and I hate to say that, use this as a term, it's not an enjoyable experience, because you're just overwhelmed with excess violence at times as well.
Yeah,
there's no such thing. What are you talking about?
Nah, it's just it's shit, and I hate saying that, and I can't say that on our podcast on the Sunday, so I'm saying it now. It was really shit.
It's well acted. Don't get me wrong. Jeremy did a good job.
I am not
great job, but it's not, the standoff at the end with Donald and Michael and the whole. It's not something that I particularly enjoy watching. No. So I don't. I've got a few I stick to if I'm going to watch Halloween.
Yeah,
and this isn't one of them.
No. I would have. Don't get us wrong. I will never diss Jamie Lee Curtis, because it's Jamie Lee Curtis. Would never do that. What I would have preferred for Halloween 2 was more fleshing out of Donald's character, and maybe having, like, he's had this fascination for how many years, and it's only just talked about in a brief part in this movie. You could have done so much with that, as opposed to going to the very next day, Laurie's in hospital, and fuck me, it's all happening. Like, that girl couldn't catch a break. Yeah. So yeah.
Hence what they did in the second one of Halloween. Kills was it the middle one? Yeah, it's the same trope as number 2, based in a hospital.
Yeah.
So it's really like they just didn't. I feel like they gave up with the new ones, but that's a whole nother.
We'll get there. We'll get there, because when the new ones came out, we watched them and we went, they're not going on our episode on Sunday, because we tried to keep that pleasant, so we can't go talk about that. We can talk about that here. We move on to 1982. Now, I know that it's not part of Michael's wheelhouse, but it is Halloween 3, and it is where the direction of Halloween was going to change, where it was going to be anthology horror. Holy shit, you should have kept with that. But they didn't. And it's probably more because of my love of anthology horror, but it is a movie of its own. It has absolutely nothing to do with Michael Myers, even though he is actually in there for a brief second. So we then skip to 1988. And this is where it starts. 1988, you've got The Return. 1989, you've got The Revenge.
And they're both Danielle Harris movies.
Yes. And I'll die on the sword with this one. The first Danielle Harris movie is really good. I really enjoy it. Julie,
isn't it? She plays Julie. Now, Julie is supposed to be Laurie's daughter, or because she's Michael's niece. That I do know. She's Michael's niece. So it would presume she's either Judith's kid, but Judith didn't have a kid.
Yeah.
Or Laurie's in the timeline. And this is where I got so confused. I'm like, she's his niece.
Who's the mother?
Is her mother?
Well, that was never established, because this is where we start getting into this is where we start getting into the supernatural side of Michael as well, isn't it? Where it starts going a bit. That's when the cult is involved, I think. Yeah.
No, that's 6. But we'll get to that one.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll get to 6 soon.
Oh, that's the curse.
Yeah, the curse. Danielle Harris is the only one to have bridged the 2 gaps between the Myers verse, unlike anybody else. She was in the Rob Zombie movies.
Right.
She played Scout Taylor Compton's best mate. And then in the normal movies in 4 and 5 as Julie's niece. So she's 6 months older than me, Danielle Harris. And we both have obviously the same first name and the both same initials. So It's been a weird thing with Danielle Harris because all the movies she ever does, I absolutely love them for some reason. But I didn't enjoy 5.
No, 5 was a difficult one, but I think because 4 goes back to almost like the original storytelling, like the original one where Myers is going to Hatfield chasing down teenage kids. But again, I didn't mind that one. When I watched it back, I still thought this one is, that sounds a horrible term used, that this is watchable. And because a lot of the horror movies you watch, like when we watched the Freddy movies, the later Freddys were just unbearable to watch. Where
you may have watched them.
the 4 and 5. This is where I get confused. Which was the one where Julie, spoiler, becomes the killer? Is it end of 5?
That's 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So she becomes a killer at the end of 5 and runs off with Michael, which then begins 6 with a very, very little green actor that no one knows his name, a Mr. Paul Stephen Rudd.
And he's never aged a day since then. So looks exactly the same.
This one, number 6, I sacrificed my time, just so you know, for this podcast.
You did it for us?
I watched 6.
Bless you. Yeah, bless your heart.
And I'm glad I did.
Never mentioned that.
No, I thought I'd pick one that was so random because I've seen 1, 2, I've seen 4 and 5, you know, and I thought, I don't remember seeing 6. I've seen Rob Zombie's quite a lot, and I've seen the original 3. And I never watch a Resurrection again, and H2O is ingrained in my brain. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll give 6 a go. It's the one I know the least. I know, I think I'd seen it, but I didn't think I had. Paul Rudd plays Tommy Doyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he plays Tommy Doyle with severe issues after. So I'm not sure if he's got autism or he's or he is just mentally mucked up from the whole,
or is he just completely fucked up from the
he's obsessed with anything to do with Michael, isn't he?
And
God, sorry.
Michael's coming for you, the shape.
I didn't realise Loki has gone behind me monitor, and all of a sudden this fucking paw just comes out from the top, and I have just shit bricks. Jesus, I'm so sorry. Okay, where were we? Number 6.
Yes.
Well, 6 is based on the idea that Michael, and are we ready? Grip yourselves for this one.
Holding on.
Michael is a paedophilic rapist and incestuous at the same time, because at the end of 5, when he runs off with Julie, his niece, you start 6, Julie's pregnant, running away from Michael.
Yeah.
She gives birth and hides the baby. And the cult, because there's a cult in this one called the Cult of the Thorn, and they want the baby because the baby has something to do with this ritual they need to do to make sure something happens. To be honest with you, it's a cult, blah, blah, blah.
And cults are bad, okay?
And he then kills his niece, the mother of his baby, and his niece, who was 15 in the movie. Yeah.
What? So, hang on, did you say 15?
15. So they made Michael, like I said, a paedophilic, incestuous rapist.
He was a pedo.
Yeah, they made him a peddler in this. And it was just like, oh, what? Look, it's like when you go to the Freddy and the remake that they did with the 2010 version, and they made it all about him being a pedo. And it's like, look, let's not just do that. That's not where we are with this. That was never the intention. There was never any hint in this movie that he was gonna have sexual relations with anybody. He would have gone his entire existence, I think, Michael,
being the 8-year-old virgin.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's not something that I think
the film needed or the story needed as well. So
6 as a whole is fantastic for watching Paul Rudd play a straight character, which is very disturbing.
Yeah,
very disturbing because he doesn't do it very well.
I think it was his first role, wasn't it? His first acting role, I think.
Well, he's billed as Paul Stephen Rudd, so he's not established. I don't know That one was, what year was that?
1995.
Yeah.
So, bearing in mind, you got Return in 88.
Yeah.
Straight away, the following year, you get Revenge. And then you have a little bit of a breathing gap. And bear in mind, Scream has actually come out at this point. You get The Curse.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when this one came out, because nobody in the UK knew it came out, I don't think, because you only could actually get access to it when the whole box set came out. And it was like an extra to the Halloween box set.
I
know that.
It was all very weird, but I know that it was Donald Pleasance's last Halloween film. He featured in it, and then he died just before it went either into theatres or out for VHS release, because it was, you get at the end, you get All Our Love to Donald, or in memory of Donald at the end. But in this one, you could tell Donald.
It wasn't
fucking fed up. I'm absolutely fed up of this. They just had such an amazing character. They built such an amazing character in the first one, and the first one alone, and they just wasted an opportunity to really get into it. I didn't realize that the time that came out, 95. I thought it was. I thought, and when I'm looking at the titles now, I'm like, holy shit! I know Halloween and Friday the 13th is all part of that horror thing of let's just get out as many as we fucking can. Douche. I didn't realize that we're using the fucking titles of movies from the 50s and the 60s in horror. The Return, The Revenge, The Curse. Like, I didn't realize that was it's not until I wrote them down and looked at them and went, are you fucking
same.
Alveston Costello would have made these films a lot better at times as well, let's be honest.
That would have been amazing.
The thing was about the cult, though, that made me laugh was it was so confused. Whoever wrote it had done no research on cults whatsoever, because they mixed up, right? Are you ready for this? The Cult of the Thorn was based around a boogeyman that was also a demon, a Celtic legend. You had to do blood sacrifice, but there was druids. But it was all based on a certain constellation that happened on Halloween at the same time to make this certain sign that they all had tattoos of that was supposed to be the stars in the sky. But that was what was directing Michael to kill everybody. Okay,
mixing paganism, druids.
Yep.
Apparently, though, as well, they wanted the cult to have reference to the druids in Halloween 3, so they were going to try and link Halloween 3
That's no.
That's a reach, but I'll give it. I'll
No, I mean, I'm half tempted to get the tattoo just to remind me, like, never to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should start our own cult, Dan, for Monsters Up North. Is just the Cult of the Thorn 2 Electric Boogaloo.
I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see it, but that might be a bit glary, but that is the can you see it?
Like the triangle, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's the sign.
Oh, yeah.
Cult of the Thorn. And it's the constellation. And I was just like, Michael's got a tattoo? When did he sit through that?
Well, I was listening back to one of our earlier episodes today because I needed a number. I wanted the number, and I realised that we don't point out a lot to audio listeners what we're doing. So, so there is some cases I know what we're doing. I listened to Sleepaway Camp because I generally think that is one of our best episodes. I fucking think it's hilarious. And I'm listening, and I know we're pulling faces at each other, but the audio clearly doesn't.
They need to get on YouTube.
Didn't you get told off once before by your friend Amy, who says, Sam, you do realise that you put the podcast out on Spotify. When you're explaining stuff, please give us a description. Good, just saying, look at this. It's not very helpful for us.
Yeah, I did. I got wrong off Amy, but I even noticed it myself today. So what Dan has just done, people of the audio, she lifted a bit of paper up.
People of the audio.
I was like, yeah, I knew we were pulling faces at each other, so I'm sitting laughing away, and I'm like thinking, nobody, if they're just like randomly listening and not going to know that we are doing Angela's face. I know. So yeah, we go from 1995.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I generally thought there was a bigger gap here, just because of how it was promoted.
Mm-hmm. 3
years, and you get 1998, and you have Halloween H2O,
which I like.
It's a brilliant film. It's a very much, as you said, it's was it Wes Anderson? Not Wes Anderson. Kevin. What's he called?
Williamson.
Kevin Williamson, that's the one.
The guy behind Scream.
Yeah.
And Dawson's Creek.
And was it I Know What You Did Last Summer as well, was it?
Yep.
We found out on one episode I know more about Dawson's Creek than I get.
I don't want to wait for this world to be
If it
over.
wasn't for Kevin Williamson, we wouldn't have I Know What You Did Last Summer. We wouldn't have ugly crying meme of James Van Der Beek. We wouldn't have Scream. We wouldn't have so many things. He knew how to do teen. Wes knew how to do horror. And when they got together to do Scream, we were presented with something that we hadn't seen in a long time. Bearing in mind, Halloween, like we say, was the precursor. You watch Scream, the very first Scream, there's so many bits of dialogue that they nicked from Scream, nicked from Halloween, run to the so-and-so's house, which is the same line that obviously Laurie says too.
Oh, yes.
But they use the dialogue, and there's lots of little hints, and then obviously with Wes being in it, and you have the Fonz who alludes to Fred being the caretaker, and it's Wes dressed up as Freddy Krueger. But I love the fact that in 3 years, from Halloween 6 to H2O, they completely did a 180 on this. They went, that was shit, that didn't work, bin that off, where can we go from here? And you get Dawson's Creek again, you get Michelle Williams.
Yes, you do. Every time I watch it, I'm like, shit, I forgot she was in it. Shit, I forgot he was in it. Oh my God, that's a kid from Jumanji.
And Josh Harkness, who still didn't get a haircut. Yes.
Hey, I watched Oppenheimer the other day. That man is aged fucking beautifully.
Penny Dreadful. Just watch Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, no, he was good in Penny Dreadful. I'll give him that. Penny Dreadful wasn't great, but he was good in it.
And he was probably my crush in The Faculty because
fucking 100% is Zeke. Oh my God, yes.
I went to school with a boy called Zeke as well, which was really weird because never heard that name before until I went to school.
The H2O just fit perfectly into how horror was at the time. It has the aesthetic looks and feels of horror it gives me the warm and fuzzies when I watch it. It has some of the most memorable scenes in it, and even still shots. Watching Jamie Lee close that door and that circled window that's between them, and they're both on either side. It's just fucking gives us chills. It's iconic, that look of them two together. Yeah. If Jamie Lee chopped his head off and we were done and dusted, I'd have been fucking happy.
Very much
holy
so.
Shit, we got the next one.
Well, this one though, I will say with H2O, you've got the reigning champion of guy who's supposed to die first in a movie that doesn't, Mr. LL Cool J.
Cool J.
And you've also got, which I thought was absolutely one of the best moves they made in this movie, Janet Leigh. Her mother was a secretary.
Yeah.
And she's driving the same car she does in Psycho, parked up, waiting, and she goes to get into it.
She's also got Mrs. Crane.
And it's like that was a smart move, a smart move for horror guys. And H2O can be faulted in many ways because it's still typically running with the thing that he's their brother and sister.
Yeah.
It follows in it's part of the timeline 2, so it's 1, 2, H2O.
Yeah. So he's the brother.
It's his sister in this one because she makes reference to it because she hides a drinking problem and stuff and says, "Oh, my brother tried to kill me on Halloween night. That's why you can't go on your school trip, Josh. You're a very naughty boy for staying." But you stole one of my facts as well. I was going to say about a mother being in it. So this is what it feels like.
Yeah, you'll never ever not let me see like Janet Leigh. Curtis in a movie,
I actually get quite emotional when that comes up because I just think to myself, how much would that have meant to Jamie now that Janet's no longer with us anymore, and how much she fucking held her mother in high regards. And it's so rare in Hollywood that a mother and daughter like them two who have had such success that they had and I know Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds had such an amazing relationship, but it wasn't always perfect. At all. And Carrie made a whole fucking film and wrote a whole fucking book about her mother's relationship, but Jamie never did that.
No.
Even with the problems that she had with her dad as well, she still never shit on him, and she took moments like what she had with her mother in H2O incredibly special. And I do get choked up watching them too. Janet Leigh is one of my faves. She's right there. I have a signed picture of Janet Leigh. Who
The
is
audio's listening, she's pointing to a wall.
she's right there. She's right up here on my wall. For the
Yes.
audio listeners, it's a signed picture that my dad got me because Psycho is one of my favourites.
There is
but
one
I
scene.
do love that moment.
There is one scene in H2O that does take me out of the whole movie at the moment, and I don't know why. It's just a weird scene or weird way of doing it. It's when they're walking down the hall and Michael's in the rafters, and instead of lowering himself down, he lowers him down with his arm, and his body just stays completely straight. Like it's like an impossibility that, like, I know it's in like human, but it just looks so weird. If you watch it back now, you'll never not look at it the same way. Just
I
because,
can picture it now you've said it.
yeah,
But I would never have thought of myself to look at it that way.
it's just such an unnatural movement. You think, well, why is he doing it that? What that? Just why? But yeah, that's the only thing that takes us out of that movie. Like I love all the elements. I love the horror aspects, the chase, the bait and switch, the do well thing. Like when they're in the elevator as well, and they're trying to pull the elevator down. Like all that element is well done. But yeah, that one scene where he's pulling himself down from the rafters, it's like that. You can tell he's wearing a harness, but it's like, no, don't do it that way. Just do it normal. Do it like a normal person.
Oh, don't let us see it at all.
Yeah.
So we're led to believe that she's killed Michael, beheaded him at the end, but it was supposed to be the ambulance driver, and he'd ripped out his tongue or fucked up his vocal cords or done something.
He did a Hannibal Lecter, basically.
Right? Yeah, and it was him, because that's when you see him going like that, and you think he's being compassionate towards Laurie, but then when you find out in Buster Rhymes and Tyra Banks version.
Oh God!
Oh, this is an actual film.
But you look at the lineup. Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff was in this.
Yeah.
Bloody what? Buster Rhymes.
She doesn't admit to it. Don't worry, she's not proud of it.
Like, I thought Katie Sackhoff was going to go into horror at one point because she was in like White Noise as well, and she was doing these little not so well known ones that were okay. And then when I saw her in this, I was like, oh.
Thank God.
No.
Thank God you went the route you went.
Yeah, it works better for her. She, not that she can't act horror, it's just this movie was absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
This movie, I can only think what they were thinking was, oh, let's look at what's popular in TV at the moment, which is reality shows.
Yeah.
The real world.
Shows. So yeah, and what we'll do is we'll stick a camera on everybody and put them in a house, in the Myers house. And then if Michael comes home and gets them, it'll be great. And it's like,
no, it worked for Dead Set.
Yeah,
it worked for Dead Set on Channel 4. If you remember that, really good. It's on Netflix for anyone in the UK. It is a fucking amazing UK zombie. Was it a TV show?
Yeah, it was a
bit of a calls in it.
Yeah, it was a 3-parter, I think it is.
It was absolutely brilliant. That worked. You've got to remember what reality TV show was at the time. Now, I watched a documentary the other day about two kids who the people who stole from Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan.
The clickbang.
Bling ring.
Cling ring.
That's
yes,
it, the bling ring. That's it. That's them. So I was watching that the other day, and it kind of took us back to where reality TV started. And you forget that it was the fucking Osbournes who kind of stemmed that. You always, if you think of reality TV, you're thinking of like the Real Housewives, you're thinking of the Kardashians. We don't, because you'll let me secret out pulling faces like that.
Sorry, acid reflux.
But it was the Osbournes who kicked it all off, and then I look at Resurrection and I'm like, oh well, like no, that is just. Doesn't
Buster Rhymes go say, "I know Kung Fu bitch" to Michael Myers?
And he kicks him. I think he kicks Michael Myers. I can't remember because I purposely avoided that one like the freaking plague. Although when I was younger, I went through a phase of it didn't matter what horror came out on VHS or DVD, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
And my collection was huge. And at one point, I had something like 300-400 VHSs. And I used to carry them everywhere with me, like everywhere. When I worked at Butlins, I'd take my whole collection with me, so I had something to watch. And you asked anybody who I used to work with, and they used to be like, "Oh, it was like Blockbusters. They come around and borrow one, you know." It's like, but I remember distinctly buying Resurrection and hating every second of it, watching it once and never watching it again, and putting it back literally on the shelf at the back, and it just got one watch, and then I think they probably got destroyed by now because I think I had to bin them all. But it was one of those moments where you think to yourself,
why?
That wasn't worth $9.99 at the time, because we're talking 2002, so it was cheap back then. But you just think to yourself, good God, I mean,
it didn't get a cinema run, did it? Though I think it went straight to DVD.
I couldn't tell you. I watched it. I couldn't tell you. I watched it on a copy. I know that for damn sure, because I didn't pay the money for it. Even the trailer screamed shit show. The trailer didn't even sparkle it up in any way. It just was. Oh, it looked. No.
Wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis contracted to be in? She didn't want to do it, so that's why she made them kill her off dead.
Yeah, that's why it's very, very short at the beginning where he's chasing her through. And then she jumps out the window into the tree or something. I'm like, I can't, like I say, it's been once that I recall watching it.
One and done.
Yeah,
that's enough.
and I know she's in the hospital at the beginning. Michael stalks her in the hospital. She's got long hair again, like she was in the first one. That I do remember. She's in a hospital gown, and I remember seeing her booking it out of a window into a tree at one point, and that's about the most I remember from that beginning section.
I think she actually smiled when she jumps off the roof as well. It's like, I'm out of here.
she did a Harrison Ford moment, because I'm sure he smirks and all when he dies in Star Wars.
Thank fuck it's over. That's probably what he's thinking.
Oh, you're not going to break me ankle again now, bitches. But yeah, so.
So in 2002 Resurrection comes out, and we have a little bit of a break from Michael until one certain creative director decides to come out with his own version of Rob Zombie's. I was going to say one version of Michael Myers. It is Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007 and 2009. I know Paul has strong feelings on this one.
Well, I'm going to not. It's one of them things that I'll be kind and not say because I fucking kind of stand them. These are the worst films for me in the franchise, but I know Dan does like them, so I'm not going to go all hell to ever say it.
It's not that I like or dislike them. I think that they are a useful tool for people to fill in the gaps. Because we're never given the pleasure of that. Because what was supposed to happen was the studio was fully intending in 2008-9 to release a movie called write it down here somewhere, the Halloween: The Missing Years. Nice. That's an unreleased movie that was never made. But it was around the same time as Rob Zombie approached the studio and said, "Ooh, guess what? I want to do a Michael Myers." And they were like, "We were thinking about it." And he's like, "No, look, I've got every single person I've ever worked with in my entire back catalogue. Sid, Bill, Dee Wallace. We're talking some of the biggest guys in horror at the time. Ken Forey. Just like person after person after person. Sid.
Sherry Moon."
But you can't get away. But I'm glad she only played the part she did. And I will say this is one very, very rare case that she actually did a semi-decent job at playing a role.
Yeah.
She played it straight.
Yeah. And there was none of that. It seemed... The thing about the Rob Zombies ones, they seem like you can understand how the progression of Michael's madness. The storytelling is there. It's just... With Rob, he has that habit of...
It's almost like he's too overexcited. That's how I see it.
Everything's got to be in it. Everything in the kitchen sink. It's the whole thing with how you see Daig go from being just that kid that was getting picked on by his stepdad or his mum's new boyfriend or whoever he was at the time, and the progression of him beating that kid with a stick, until he was practically almost dead. Then he got expelled. Then he was killing cats and birds, and you can go, right, okay, I get now how he got to Judith, because in the previous movies it was just he killed Judith, and we're supposed to believe that that's not a psychotic, it was a psychotic break or whatever, but they never gave you the reasons behind it.
Yeah,
it helps with the gap filling for me.
No, and I get that, but I think that's where the elements for me, because I love the Halloween original, because you don't get all the story or you don't get all the the information. It's like that's the kind of thing you can think about, and sometimes your own imagination makes it a lot worse. And it's, for me, why Michael Myers is so scary in the first film is it's not because he was abused or he was given like this has happened to him. He was just fucking evil, and that's quite because people can be like that, and that's quite scary. And the way Rob Zombie did it, as I think Sam explained it perfectly, it's like it filled in too much of the blanks. It was like, oh, we're going to throw everything at you and explain everything. It's kind of like it's taken away that little bit of mystery and intrigue where like I said, that the magic was lost for me, and then it just was replaced by, like I say, the brutality and just, as you said, too much of everything. Sometimes if you pare back horror or pare back like anything and do like less is kind of more. But these ones, and again, I'll be honest, I've watched the first one and I saw the trailer for the second one. I went, I'm not even going to bother. And that's very rare because I'll watch anything, but I still can't bring myself to watch Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie.
I've never seen it. I barely think I've seen the first one.
I give them their dues.
I own them.
Michael McDowell. I mean, they got
they did. They got Michael McDowell, which
Ray Loomis. They've got Danny Trejo. They've got like the list of the people that he got in that. I mean, you can't deny the fact that he has weight behind him enough to bring these people to
absolutely.
Movies.
To me, it felt like a fanboy writing fan fiction and being able to put it on film, and that's why that's what I meant by he just gets too overexcited because it's like, holy shit, I can actually fucking do this now and just get out. Because you've got to remember that he's such a horror fan, and if you've ever heard him talk in interviews, he is like he can talk at any genre and give you in depth. It's like having K 1,000. Or talking to. And
I love Rob Zombie's movies. Like I say, I don't get us wrong. I love House of 1,000 Corpses. I love The Devil's Rejects. And even when we reviewed The Monsters, I enjoyed The Monsters.
I really liked it.
It's not it's not as horrendous as everyone made out, but
it wasn't.
The bits that was Rob Zombie made was entertaining. The bits where the studios took over and tried to finish off, that was the horrendous part. But yes, but with
we did a whole review of it. Look at this.
But with these ones, it kind of, I said, if a fanboy made it, that's fine. I say he can made it. It wasn't to my liking, and again, that's fine. Everyone is fair to their opinion. But I know when we did a Halloween review. A few years ago, it seems like so many moons ago, we did actually name the episode "The Good, the Bad, and the Rob Zombie." So,
one thing I will say is that did you know John did this specifically because of how much he knew. Rob did this specifically because he knew how much John loved Black Christmas. Margot Kidder has a role in his Myers verse.
All right.
So he cast Margot Kidder from to honor John through John loving Black Christmas.
Right.
So it was one of her. When she was coming out, when she was turning the corner, he took a chance on it. Well, I say took a chance. That sounds awful, but her reputation was down the pan at that point.
Yeah,
and he helped her out. So
we talked about this on the Black Christmas one about Margot's unfortunate times, and oh my god, I did not know that. If you mentioned that on the Black Christmas one, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Because
no, I didn't.
I think Binks has just realised he's on camera. He's like, oh,
so I'm a star.
When you look at them, you don't. I don't think it's a big part. I don't really.
I think that's so sweet.
Like I said, I've always got a lot of time for Rob Zombie, and there's a lot of people that shit on him just because it's easier to do. But for me, and again, and I know we're talking about a franchise that does have some horrible, terrible movies. Like these two, again, I can't comment on the second one because that would be unfair. Because I just, like, out my own stubbornness, refused to watch just because the first one didn't hit the right notes for me. But saying that though, I should really give them a go again because then we got what we got.
Yeah. So maybe in hindsight, it's not as bad. So we leave 2009 with Rob Zombie's second movie, and we have such a break. And in 2018, not only the return of Michael, it's the return of badass Jamie Lee Curtis looking fucking incredible as Laurie Strode again. But we are in timeline number 4. So we are 1 and then this one. I'm not gonna lie, I was dead fucking excited to see it when this was coming out at the promotion for it. Jamie Lee's promotional pictures where she has Laurie and herself. And she gives Laurie a big kiss on the head, and I well up every time that I think about it because I just think it's so special. I remember coming out the end of the cinema, at the end of the pictures, and I just said to Carolyn, "Oh, fuck me, that was really good." And the guy behind us went, "Well, that was a load of dog shit," and I just turned around and went, "Excuse me." And then I forgot myself, and then had to just excuse myself. But I really enjoyed this. I love the idea of Laurie fighting back. And that she had spent all that time, you know, like imagining what's going to happen, preparing herself, preparing her daughter. I love that. That's why I got really excited when they were looking to do it for Sally on Texas Chainsaw. What fucking disappointment that was. I'm sure I've expressed my feelings many a times on it. But I love this. I love the homage to it, especially on the rewatch and knowing it. It was, I felt that give it a little bit extra. Yeah, I really liked it. Did you guys really like it?
No, I Danny's she stands fierce there, bless her.
Listeners, Dan's shaking her head no.
I did enjoy it, yeah.
It wasn't executed well enough. If you're looking at a story of way after the events have occurred, you're past the fact that she's had a family, you don't see any, you've got a good 30-something year gap, right? Because I'm guessing her daughter's in her mid-30s, right? So maybe even a 40-year gap, let's say, from when the events occurred in the first one to this one, because it is 40 years, isn't it? It's 78 to 2018.
To 2018, yeah.
Yeah, so 40-year gap. In that 40 years, she's had kids, she's done all that stuff, but you don't see any of it, you don't know any about it. You take one look at how they handled Afterlife with the Egon Spengler storyline and how they did his storyline, his relationship with his daughter. I know it's a different genre, don't get on me because that, but the way they handled the Egon thing and how everybody called him the dirt farmer and the crazy man, very similar to how they were like, oh, crazy Laurie Strode lives in the crazy pen around the corner. I just feel like it lacked an element of, it just lacked that finesse. I was waiting. I get all the things that they wrote, and I get the fact that she would become paranoid, he'd come back, but after 40 years and he doesn't make an appearance, wouldn't you start living your life? 40 years. Yeah,
it's a lot to hold on to something, and I totally understand that. For me, it was more of moments that I loved. One being how she did teach her daughter, and that moment where our daughter's in the cellar and she's Binksy in the cellar, and she's doing the whole, oh no, don't, and then she has him in her sight, and oh my god, that switch. But that is probably down to Judy Greer and how much of a fucking amazing actress she is. She was Judy was so good in 2021 as well in Halloween Kills.
Cheryl from Archer for me.
You're not my boss.
She's Fatty Magoo.
You're not the boss of me.
Oh, Binksy. She's Fatty Magoo in Always Sunny. She's just absolutely fantastic actress, and that switch was just perfect. But like, it is moments. I love. What I don't love is the podcasters at the beginning. I don't like the fact that it is at this point and in this timeline, it's one night, it's 4 murders. It's not the most extremist thing to base the whole fucking podcast on. I listened to Serial, for Christ's sake, and that was one whole podcast on one case.
Sam's not saying these killings are not brutal enough for her, so she's not interested in the podcast.
It's not that. It's not that. It's just in the grand scheme of stories for podcasts, that was one night and 4 murders. It's not in a town that probably no one has ever heard of.
But nothing. It's the mystery of Michael. Like, as you said, it's not just the murders; it's the fact that he's never said a word. He's never reacted, and he's been like studied psychology and stuff like that. It's that kind of thing would have like intrigued certain aspects, but I can understand it. But again, it's a starting point to start the movie. But if you, as you said, as we're doing now, if you watch it for the first time, you're just going through the motions, you're going on the journey. But if you're analysing it, it doesn't kind of flow or make entire sense. It's a plot point to make Michael interesting, because podcasting is the interesting thing to do at the moment.
I think they had to show a way of getting him wound up enough to be able to break out.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Yeah, that's a good point. They're the kind of a plot.
It's just a way to further on the.
I get that
story.
Yeah.
I mean, I will heavily contest the casting of the granddaughter.
Yes,
really,
it was bad. She looks like Judy. Don't get me wrong. For familiar generational likeness, yeah, good casting. Actress wise, oh my god.
Well, they wanted to go down the same route as what they did with Jamie Lee. They were going to actually cast a known Emma Roberts was the main runner. Emma Roberts was in talks, but then then they wanted to go with what they did with Jamie. Jamie was an unknown, so they wanted to go with an unknown for the granddaughter. I personally didn't mind the granddaughter and thought, if that is a passing of the torch moment and she is going to continue the franchise on, because I generally thought Jamie Lee was fucking done after this. I thought like it's going to be the granddaughter's turn to like kind of take it on. Would you fucking pack it in? I didn't mind that it was going to be her. If it was going to be her and Judy, that'd have been fucking class.
I don't have any issues with them with them using an unknown. I think that's great in movies when they do that. But I think the problem
have to be up to talent wise. Yeah.
There was just this lack of. By the time you get to 3, that was what solidified my whole opinion. I mean, 1, I was like, okay. 2, I was like, 3, I was like, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
You know,
3, I was ready to chuck my telly out the fucking window.
I think Dan's right. Yeah.
I think it's how they wrote her. I'm going to go with that. It's not her acting ability. It's not the fact that she doesn't look like a member of the family. It's how they wrote her as a character. I wanted more. You know, like how Judy had that breakout moment where she was like, she's like badass all of a sudden. You didn't get that from the daughter.
No.
In the first one, you didn't get that. You had bits, I suppose. I mean, I know I'm overly critical, and that is my job. I'm on a podcast. I get to do these things. I get to say what I really feel, and I get.
And you can't argue with her either.
Oh, you can argue with me. Honestly, if anyone does, I don't have a problem as long as put a good argument behind your criticism.
Have an open and honest conversation.
I'm not for a debate. I've got no issues having if someone thinks I'm wrong, for them to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But give me a reason why. Don't just say, "Oh, that was shit." You're wrong. Give me something to work from, and then I can either reconsider my opinion or stick my boots in a bit further. But
dig them heels in.
No, I agree. The first one, she's not bad because she serves the point first. Like Judy Greer in the first one is head and shoulders the best thing in the movie. Like literally her performance, like how she's sick of Laurie, sick of everything that's going on, bored of her husband because her husband's boring as fuck as well.
I thought he was dead interesting. I liked him.
And then you get that moment where she becomes a badass, and you think, oh, great. But as Dan said, the second one, it's damp squid. You think, oh, it's moving somewhere, because I would have done it. And again, not saying I'm a movie masterpiece, but I do like my movies. The first one was Laurie's story to finish that one. The second one was a mother's story that would have finished that one, and the third one should have been a daughter's story. But we kind of didn't get any of them stories. No. It kind of just didn't know where we were going.
Because Danny McBride just went, so I've taken he's taken homage from the first one and used that as his wheelhouse for the 2018 to open the door for this whole trilogy to then go, oh, Oh shit, I don't know where to go with this. Judy's character in the second one, actually from the first one to the second one, was phenomenal. The fact that she wore a Christmas jumper to fucking piss off her mother and not celebrate Halloween was amazing. I loved that. But what she was the audience. She is exactly what Dan was saying not long ago. Why are you holding on to something that happened 40 odd years ago on one night? Judy is saying that to her.
That really, okay, yeah, he chased you around, and if like we're doing it by the Myers verse as applies to this specific run, then yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't live your life without training yourself for certain skills or having the forethought to put these things into place, but to completely alienate yourself to an extent of where you're the crazy drunk mother, and then the village joke, you know, because you're, instead of being that person that came through it strong and came through it, which she has to us because we know her backstory, but to everybody else, she's like that crazy village lady who is going to get eaten by Alsatians and lives on her own. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's that person, and I don't think the character of Laurie deserves that.
Yeah.
I think when they wrote it, she deserved better.
Yes.
All the way through these three movies, I think Laurie deserved better as a character.
I agree. I love the look of Laurie in this one. I love the fact that she is very Sarah Connor. Yes, I totally get what you're saying with the fact that it's a trauma that happened. Like, there is therapy for it. Did you have to go through 2 divorces and turn into the world's best what are they called?
Survivalists.
Doomsday preppers ever. Did you have to, like, was that necessary to deck your whole house out to be a...
To be fair though, who did she get to help her with them? Yeah, I was going to say, who did she get to help them? Like Kevin from Home Alone to like help her like get everything in the house sorted.
Kevin McAllister came into that house and sorted that shit out because it was booby trapped up to the fucking nines. But was that necessary? Well, obviously it was because of the events that happened in the first one.
Because it's one of those things. It's what you keep telling me, Sammy. Movie magic.
Movie magic. We have a couple of years gap, and we've got the 2021. Binksy, if you bite my hand, the 2021 Halloween Kills, which, oh God, Evil Dies Tonight.
Yeah, but again, it's, as you said, it's a homage to the second one, where it's like a sort of follow up from the night before, so it's like the continuation of one night to moving on to the second night, which they did in Halloween 2, which I get, but yeah, this didn't feel like a complete movie to me. It felt like a placeholder. It was like, we've got some interesting characters, we're going to foreshadow how these interesting characters will all die, and then we're moving through the pieces, and then you've got, as you said, Weird Science guy playing Tommy Doyle, and just going absolutely mental for no reason. That I can, yeah.
Because Evil Dies Tonight, kids.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall, that's his name. But yeah, I think with this one, it was a way to get as many of the original cast members as they could back into the movie. So, like you say, it is a gap filler in that respect. But I will say there's one thing that stuck with me from this movie, other than Evil Dies Tonight. Get in the bin. The poor mental patient that they mistook for Michael. I thought that was really well written, that bit where ultimately he dies because he jumps out the window or he gets forced out the window. I can't really remember what happens in that respect, but he dies because he falls very far. And I remember watching that bit and going, oh, that's sort of really, oh, I didn't like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like that was the bit that stayed with me in the movie the most, I would say.
It shows you what mob mentality can be like. And the worst thing about it is, well, when movies kind of bridge onto real life, you could see that actually happening in real life.
And people are really fucking dumb.
We need someone to follow, Bar Black Sheep. You know, we're going to follow you because you're the ringleader. And it's like,
oh, it was such a Frankenstein moment of just dumbness all over. It had some really good. It had some. I didn't hate it. I'm not gonna lie, because I watched this as a double bill. I watched this and then Halloween ends, and fuck me, when you do that, you think, hang on a minute, that one actually wasn't that bad. There was some good moments in it. I actually love the fact that Cal Richards was in it, because she is the original Lindsay. I loved Judy Greer. Did Judy die in this one?
Yes.
Yeah, she got stabbed at the end, I think.
Fucking travesty. Absolutely. I think I was very angry at that.
Yeah, I think we had I think we had a
a
conversation. You were like really mad and said, "Oh, there'll be a way of bringing it back, or it didn't die pretty, but there's got to be a thing." But this film wouldn't be looked upon as bad as it is if they stuck the ending. That's the important thing with this trilogy. The trilogy as a whole lives and dies by the third film. So, because as soon as they make the decision that we're making 3 films, I think the second one, as I said, it tells a story of moving forward. And I like the whole element where he's not trying to get at Laurie, he's just trying to get home. I thought that was a really interesting take to it. But they needed really to crash that landing with the third film, and I still don't understand or know what we got with that.
Oh, God. Right. So we actually only have a year between this one, between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So 2021 and 2022. Bearing in mind, we are mid-lockdowns at this point. Yeah. So, like, movie fatigue is really, like, kind of kicking in, and you think, shit, yeah, let's see how they're going to end this trilogy.
I risked my life to see this movie. It was one of my first films. I went out and went to COVID after COVID to go to the pictures for the first time, and there was about 2 people in the cinema who were all wearing masks, and it was fucking horrible.
I'm going to beat you on this one. Do you know what my first film was out of COVID? The horse shit that was Wonder Woman 84. Thank you. Goodbye.
Oh, you win.
Feminism dies tonight.
Oh my God, you win. That movie is a fucking shit show for so many reasons.
Pascal can't even say something, then it's just no good.
No good. But Halloween Ends was an even bigger shit show. They give Michael Myers a fucking friend.
You got a friend in me.
They give Michael Myers a friend.
Never had a relationship with anybody his entire life. The closest he's ever had was Donald Pleasance, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
And he's a fucking therapist. Like, no. I remember pausing this and going into Anthony and saying, Anth, they've just given Michael Myers a friend. And he went, what? And I went, I'm not even joking. And then I walked away from him and went and watched the rest of the film. And he was just sat there going, what happened?
When I was watching the start of the film, you think, oh, this, like, it's creepy and a creepy house. It's going to be quite interesting. And then it just happens where, like, the kid dies and you're like, what the fuck? And it just goes, like, every single direction from there. And you're like, I don't know what's happening. Then Laurie Strode becomes the perfect nana again and living life like, oh, yes, I've given up, like, everything is fine. I've lost my daughter. So all I needed to do was lose my daughter to become normal again. I was like, okay, but yeah.
Yep. She became the happy homemaker.
And yet she knows that they hadn't found him at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why, after 40 years, could she not come to terms with it? But there's a lot of inconsistencies. I mean, the fact that it makes sense that Michael has somewhere to go when he's...
Well, yeah, he has to go somewhere. He doesn't just poof into thin air. I totally get that.
But down in a sewer? I mean,
he's not a Ninja Turtle.
I paused it. I remember Rob was gaming and I paused it. I did the same thing you did. And I turned to Rob and I went, he lives in a fucking sewer. And he went to me, what are you talking about? I went, they've made Michael live in a fucking sewer. And he went, what? I was like, you don't see him for the first 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
So you did to Rob what I did to Anth, just midway through a film, make a plot point and then walk away from him.
Yeah, and Rob went to me, what? Why? I was like, I don't fucking know. None of this is
Let's find out.
And they never answered the question.
Oh.
He still lived in the sewer at the end. But can we just talk about, right? Okay. 13 movies.
Yes.
Over 40-something years, 45 years, I think it is, something crazy like that, right? And that's how they killed him off.
Yeah.
That is how they killed off one of the biggest icons of horror.
Mm-hmm.
You know what though? I bet they went in the like in the writer's room or like whatever like pitching they were doing, going, "This is how we're going to end Michael. We're going to get the whole town out. We're going to go and put him in this type of like thing that destroys like anything. That's the way that's going to end the great legacy that is Michael Myers." You can tell. I don't know if these people like horror movies or like movies.
Jason Blum doesn't like horror movies. I've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, but yeah, I kind of like you thought they don't get why Michael was special at that time, or well, they kind of did in the first movie, and then they went.
Because that's John's love child is the first one.
No, I'm talking about the first of the trilogy.
The 2018
one. They kind of got elements of Michael where it felt like Michael. Then it seemed like the Michael element, they were just like, oh shit, we don't know what to do. And I get for the third one, taking a big swing to make a big change, having the balls to do it. I'll give you kudos and say, well done for having the balls to do it. But did you really... Was that what you meant it to be? I would love to ask that question if that's how they have foreseen the ending to Michael Myers. That's just...
I do feel like they had a moment where they were gonna, like you say, the handing over of the torch with the grandchild, but they were gonna do it with Michael handing it down to he's not even memorable. That guy that was dating the daughter that got really, really serious really quickly. Then she started getting all shitty with her nan, and I'm like, they have missed a big chunk in the middle of that film. It felt like they edited out a good massive portion of storyline that I went, what, have I missed something? And I had to rewind it because it made no sense how she loved her nana and she hated her nana. And it was just like, boom, it happened all of a sudden. And it's like there was no rhyme or reason for it. And I was like,
it's almost like they went back to the 70s when sex makes women go crazy.
It didn't work.
But it's no different than making Laurie this absolute machine to being then, granny homemaker in the fact, and all it took for a daughter to die. Like honestly, with this and the writers, I really think they wrote themselves into a corner they did not know how to fucking get out of.
But they had the opportunity because, like, the thing that you were looking forward to and the thing that was building up to was the big fight between Laurie and Michael. And that was the thing that everyone wanted to see, and everything with what been waited for years. And it's over within seconds. She basically kills him by bending him over a table, and then you get the fight between him, her, and his the little sidekick. And it's kind of like, is this?
Is this what you pictured as the ending of your trilogy? To be honest, we had the big fight in 2018. We had an amazing fight with some really good fucking booby traps. Like, if that's how it ended,
they should have.
I agree totally.
Perfect because that scene of him burning in the house and the fact that maybe we don't know if he got out, because I would have just loved for them to be driving off in the back of that truck. That house is burning to the ground. The fire engine's there, and then it's just, we can't find anyone. And we never hear from Michael again, ever.
No.
I mean, I get the fact that in the third one, they were trying to take that supernatural element away by making him old and making him tired and making Michael broken, but that's all well and good. But
you're doing it in one film.
Showcase the main reason people signed on for that movie in 78. There was no. They did Jamie a disservice in that one. They did, and they most definitely did Michael a disservice for the sheer reason that 45 years and that's how he goes out. He gets, I think in total in that last movie, he got in screen time. I think it was something like I read 20 something minutes of screen time in that whole entire last movie. His goodbye, his big, see you pals, I'm done. And that was it.
Yeah.
And
It's a shame.
It's always a sad aspect as well, because it didn't even feel like a horror movie. That's probably the best way I can describe it. There wasn't any scares, there wasn't any tension. It was just you felt uncomfortable
It's just
while
a lot of
watching
anger
it.
on my part.
And that
It was like,
Yeah, a lot of anger, and just it's the friend aspect. It's just I can't look at anything else about the fact that they try to give Michael Myers the epitome of evil, the solo riding boiler suit wearing slashy stab guy, a fucking friend. Jason didn't even. Binksy, if you turn this computer off, I swear to God. Sorry, he's been so fascinated by your hand movements that I've managed to keep him sat on my knee for as long as I have, because he just keeps looking at your hands. Now he's trying to get on my computer and turn it off. He does it to Anth all the time. So yeah, I was going to ask how you think Michael should go out to kind of like wrap this all up. If you could take the trilogy as a whole and not as a three-parter, as a whole, how would you have liked to have seen Michael leave a franchise that I believe we'll actually see again in the future? However, at the time they are making the point that this is the last time.
But there's rumours there's a TV show coming out soon. Yeah, I've heard
there's
that.
a Friday the 13th one too.
Yeah,
Get on, Jason.
Camp Crystal Lake, but they want to do a TV show, and I think they are going to loosely base it on the lost years of Michael.
That'd be interesting. Not gonna lie. If it's got something to do with Donald Pleasant's character, I am fucking in. But take that equation out of we don't know that yet. It's gone. How would you have liked to have seen Michael's story end as the last trilogy?
As with always, Michael, you leave it open ended. It's always nice, like have the big fight, the big West showdown. Have Michael like getting beat 7 bells of Sunder, but always keep coming back, almost like the Undertaker in wrestling. That was always the element. But having been beaten, but as you said, the ending to the first one would have been. I would have went away and said, yeah, that would have been a happy ending. Like, fair enough, burnt to death is one of the worst things, or horrible things to happen, but you don't know if he can survive, and that I love that question with Michael, leaving everything that happens to be open-ended. I don't think everything needs to have an answer, or everything needs to have like the full stop at the end of the story. And I think Michael's one of those characters where I would always like a comma.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good answer. I'm just sticking with mine. 2018 should have been it. I was happy with the whole movie in its entirety. Love the fact that the fight at the end was it was something that Kevin McAllister would have been absolutely proud of. But yeah, if that was it, I'd have been happy with that.
I have two ways I'm sort of torn between. I like the idea of obviously they're leaving it open-ended in the respect of that he's gone, so we think. But they should never bring him back again after that. That's the one. But then the other one, I think that would have been a great opportunity, although probably terrible if it was to actually happen. But as a great plot point for him to think he's killed Laurie, and then he sits down, he starts to relax, he takes his mask off, and he sits there and he's just contemplating everything, and he's just looking, thinking, right, what do I do now? And then Laurie jumps up and kills him. That to me would have been the perfect time to show his face, because that then would have been the end.
And it could have been moment.
But the ideal thing for that would have been that it could have been somebody that we'd seen reoccurring all the way through since the 78 movie, and they had opportunity to just do something that really like that. Do you know what I mean? That they couldn't have not come up with an idea like that. In my opinion, I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a storyteller. I've got a great imagination. God knows, I've watched enough movies over the years to know that sometimes my reality and my movie watching blends. I'm not sure what if something happened in real life.
Yeah.
But
did I go to Camp Crystal Lake?
possibly. But yeah, I just think I can't be the only person that come up with the idea of like that would have been the ideal time for Jesus, Camp Crystal Lake. That's what it is. You just threw.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it would have been the perfect time for Michael to actually show us who he was, and he could have been. They had the opportunity for him to be nobody. They had the opportunity to make him someone that we'd seen all the way through, and we all just sat there and went, I didn't see that coming. And we would have gone, fuck.
It would have been an absolute M. Night Shyamalan moment. I really like that. I actually like the idea. Where I thought you were going was Jamie Lee sparked out on the floor, like Laurie's done with, and he has his moment of kind of relaxation. We get to see who he is, and he turns around and she's fucking gone. Just like what he did in the first one. That would have been that'd have been amazing.
Either that or go totally out there and stupid and get like something like Ash coming in with a chainsaw and go, hey Michael, it's time to get groovy or something like that.
Groovy, baby. But I love that. I love that concept. And I like the idea of being someone we've seen, even if it was just minor, even if it was one of the policemen.
It was Paul Rudd.
First one on the Paul Rudd. If it was the policeman on the first one, when they're just standing around the shop, just even if it was one of them. And it made some reference to maybe the first one. I think that would have been brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
I think anything we got other than what we actually got would have been better.
It was just so, for want of a better word, flaccid, limp. Yeah. It was meh. It was, and it was sad because that.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest Michael fan.
Mm-hmm.
She said it, guys. She said it.
I like Michael. I like the movies. With like I say, whilst I know Psycho was the original slasher movie, so to speak, Jamie's following in the footsteps of her mum by going into this one. But this kicked off the 80s, 90s, this whole slasher genre as we know it. Mm-hmm. This movie is responsible for kicking that off. Because if you look at Psycho to then, there's a good 15, 20 years between the two.
Massive difference, huge evolution. Yeah. Obviously, Black Christmas plays a huge part in that.
I'm trying not to be all Randy from Scream and go, it was actually Peeping Tom that was the first of the slasher.
I mean, there was.
Yeah, I'm a joke. I'll just, you just get that flashback in your head. I was like, I can't not see it.
I've got to see it.
We're talking full-on mainstream box office hit. I mean, 13 movies, a total gross of all those movies, 841 million in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So far, as of today. Mm-hmm. And I think that would have been a lot more had that last movie have not come out in COVID and it had come out in properly. And it got a decent release and a decent run and everybody wasn't too scared to go out and watch it. I do think that would have would be a lot higher than that.
You know what pissed us off as well? Because with these movies, when they came out, they brought out these beautiful steel books. So I bought Halloween, then I got the Halloween Kills, and I had to begrudgingly buy Halloween Ends just to have the steel books, and I fucking hate that I had to do that and give them money.
I just think Michael was a very underused character after the original number one movie. The vision, the Carpenter vision was great. I loved the first film. It had everything you needed. Every ingredient was there. It was well thought out, well written. You got to understand the urban legend of the babysitter and the person that was already in the house. That was it. That was it. Mm-hmm. But then after that, with the supernatural elements and the flogging it to death, that's where Michael lost me. It's the same with Freddy. I love Freddy, but he's not my favourite because 1 to 3, great. After 3 is where it sort of turns that comedic avenue. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 24, 75, 38. We are going down the route of absolute nonsense.
Yeah, New Nightmare brought back.
Dana's the number queen.
Yeah.
She adds on so many movies. I think we got up to 74 with Halloween last week.
Felt like it. I watched 6. I tell you what, I watched number 6. That felt like I watched 6 movies in a row.
Oh, bless you. And can I just say well done for watching that one, because I remember watching it when we reviewed it last time, and I was like, yeah, that's going to be ingrained in my memory for the rest of my life for all the wrong reasons.
But yeah, I think that Michael, had he have been left at maybe 1 or 2 films, and they were both done by John, and they were both done with John's vision, Michael would be up there for me.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like that. But the more they've flogged him, the more they've given him all these other elements that weren't needed.
No.
It's just put him further down. And it's not the character's fault, it's the writer's fault for thinking that they know better than the original.
Yeah, sometimes more simpler aspects or simple storytelling works more effectively.
Well, of course.
And with Michael as well, the things what I do love about the movie, as I said, is the look, the presence, the feels. And one thing we haven't talked about as well, and I think it's just as iconic as the movie, is always the house. The Myers house always has that creep. Because you think of like buildings and horrors, like the Bates Motel, the Myers house. Like it's hard to name like so many, but you'll never forget that everyone's always got a vision, and that's the one thing that did get right in all the movies. The house never really changes the look.
I will give it on H2O when you're at the Myers house, and I'm like got the fucking chills because it's like, oh shit, we're going in here. You're right. The house is probably is an iconic staple, just like what he is. He is a big hitter. You can't deny that. We can't deny it. But is he a big hitter in his movies when you really break them down?
As Dan put it so perfectly, in the early one, even though I'm not a big fan, 2, he is one of the standouts. Then it's probably after that you get Michael from Wish, and that's the way. Even the mask,
and then in 2022 you got it from Team U.
Yeah. Then when you get say the mask even starts drooping and looking sad and pathetic as well, so it loses its imposing aspects as well. Yeah.
Oh hey.
I genuinely just think that he could have. They did him dirty, and it could have been so much better. Is my opinion on everything after 2. Not including Rob, because Rob's in a different Myers verse. Rob's Myers verse to me, I enjoyed it because it's familiar. You get your characters, you get your return characters. You get your Sid, you get your Bills, you get your Dean,
you get your Tyler Mane as your Jason.
Exactly. You get your characters.
Jason as your Michael. Sorry.
You get your characters you know and love from Rob. So for me, it's a familiar, like going home thing, watching all of his movies, because they have the same people and they have that element of familiarity. So whilst it wasn't a Michael film as we know it, I still think Rob's 1 and 2, and this is controversial, beats the 2018 to 2022 versions for me.
Wow.
I'm not taking away the fact that I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I will never have a bad word said against that woman. If you've got anything bad to say about her, please leave. But
exits that way.
She is a screen queen for a reason. She is royalty. We will not have anything, there's nothing bad you can ever say about that woman. She's a saint. But choices by the writers let them down in those last 3. So
no, definitely. And I think that goes with a lot of horror films as well, when the greed comes in, and as you said, the money that they can make and the potential of the things that they want, they take the shortcuts, they take the quick fixes.
Studios get too involved in storylines.
Exactly.
And it's scary now how easy as viewers we can see. That's because years ago we would never have known half of the studio's influence into a movie and what wasn't what is. Now we are so tuned in that we're like, yes, I can see Iron Man 3, the studio fucking got its hands on that, and that's why it's so different. And in Halloween, I can see, do you know what I mean? We are starting to see what these studios dogs.
Well, I think it's because now, with everything that you have, the elements to have to each other and stuff, we've got a plethora of entertainment. There's just so much stuff you can get your hands on relatively now, where you can see when stuff isn't genuine or stuff is just a cash cow, or or like as you said, things just don't make sense, and we're not stupid consumers anymore.
Are we not? Well, I am. I watch shapes and numbers sometimes, just shapes and pictures and colors, and because I clearly did that on half these ones. I feel like we have done Michael to death now. And we are going to.
He will come
Mr.
back.
Myers...
He always comes back, though, Michael. So never do him, but it will return.
If they do release the TV series, we'll probably revisit him, or they ever do a versus, then we might revisit him.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. So yeah, Michael's not done. Sorry, people.
Other than that, no, I don't think we'll go back on Michael purely because I don't want to have to watch some of these films ever again.
Give Dan a break.
Well. Yeah, there's going to be a campaign now. Save Dan from Halloween.
Oh, there's a meme now. We can Photoshop Michael Myers chasing Dan around places now. So that
I don't run. I give up. I just said,
take me. I'm done. I'm over.
I don't run, mate. Honestly, just crack on. Get it over and done with.
Bless.
Well, next week. Holy shit, have we set ourselves a task for next week? I don't know if this...
I didn't fucking... after Sam told us this, I was like, wow, use a brain.
I don't know if this is madness or genius on our part. But
it'll be fucking entertaining, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we are doing another Man Behind the Makeup. Mm-hmm. And we are taking on one of the, if not the greatest legends of movie makeup there has ever been.
I would say the best.
We are doing Rick Baker.
Rick Baker, everyone else. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at the moment, given what I saw his filmography the other day, and I went, shit. Yeah, interesting.
You done Tom Simidian in 2 parts? I think you'd be 7 for this.
Book. He's done like an autobiography, so I thought, right, I'll go and read it. I'll go buy it off Amazon. £125.
It's worth it. Well, I bet you.
I was like, I love you guys.
No,
but I like bringing you facts, but £125 worth of facts.
Tell you what, though, when we start making, not saying if, when we start making money from doing these podcasts, I will buy Dan this book.
We'll just start a GoFundMe and me and Sammy can share it.
just get Sammy to sell our feet pictures. It's fine. We've done it before.
Oh God, you make it. They haven't, honestly, Mum.
It got us £20 on the charity stream.
I think if anybody wants to make any money off of themselves, go for it. It's not for me to tell someone. If you want to take nose pictures and there's someone out there that wants a picture of your nose, fucking sell it. Make your best. Make the best of what you got.
It's like the speech from Dusk Till Dawn now. She's like the outside the tin.
The wise words of Dan. So next week is definitely part 1. However many parts follow after that, we will see. But it is part 1 of Rick Baker, the man behind the makeup.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. I have felt like I have been in between 2 worlds tonight. I have my podcasting partner on one side and my other podcasting partner on the other. So it's been a lot of fun to have all 3 of us together.
I've been well behaved though. I've kept my gob shut most of the time. Tried.
You've been fine. It's a podcast. I mean, I'd be fucking offended if you didn't talk. Like, that's the whole point.
So just not giving you 1-word answers and stuff, saying yes, no.
Yes, no. I agree.
Well, this time I've got this deep, dark secret that I'll start divulging to bring the... I'm sorry. Anyway.
But I'm not going to tell you what it is.
No.
Yes.
I am really Michael Myers.
It was Dan all along. So... Thank you all for joining us on this Monday, this Monster Monday. You can find all of Nerdy Up North's links. Links.
Not just Nerdy Up North, but now the Monsters Up North.
That's right. I was going to get there. I'm going on the list. I have a list in my head.
Right.
So, yes. Everything Nerdy Up North can be found on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, anything, any social media. You just type Nerdy Up North and you can find us. Oh, actually, all the links are in the description down below. Monsters Up North has its very own Instagram and TikTok. You can also find Bleeding Marvelous on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Again, all links are where, Dan? Down below. So, thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks, Paul, for being with us. Say goodbye, Dan.
Bye, Dan.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.